It is America's Game of the Week, and this great matchup for you today on a crisp December day in Philadelphia, Week 14. 42 degrees, gusts up to 30 miles per hour, and off we go. Philadelphia won the toss. They deferred. Seattle starts the day with a football. Glad you're with us on Fox. Short kickoff, picked up after a couple of hops by Richardson. And the rookie Paul Richardson is out across the 20, knocked down to the 23 by Chris Maragos. 15-yard return. Here comes Russell Wilson, who is going to make his 50th career start, including the postseason. The numbers are very good, especially on the road for number 3.
Yeah, he's been solid, and you look at the last 3 games in which he has played. He hasn't turned the ball over really much all season long, but hasn't turned it over at all in the last 3 ball games.
Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, Aaron Andrews with you from Philadelphia. Big game. 2 of the top teams in the NFC. We'll see a lot of this. Here's Marshawn Lynch crossing the 25, knocked down after a gain of 5 by Fletcher Cox. And we'll see if the Seahawks run right at Fletcher Cox. Here are some of the guys on this 13th ranked offense, and we'll look at Lemuel Jean-Pierre, who is back and making his 2nd straight start at center while they wait for the health of Max Unger. 2nd and 5. Make the handoff. Wilson in trouble. Now throws. He's got Richardson and a first down. Nice play by Russell Wilson. Made the most of it. Picked up 8 and a fresh set of downs. And now the defense, Troy, and Connor Barwin was named the NFC's Defensive Player of the Month. He looks like Macklemore, but look at this guy. What he's doing statistically, leading the NFC in sacks.
Well, and he'll be a key figure for this defense again today. They like to use him in a spy technique when they're playing against mobile quarterbacks. Certainly Russell Wilson qualifies.
So here's a first down carry again from Marshawn Lynch. Good play. It was Cole who was the first guy there. Slowed him down, and no gain on that carry from Marshawn Lynch.
Trent Cole on this backside. He's here and he shoots the gap, and he's able to track him down from the backside, and he had some help with the safety Nate Allen in case Russell Wilson came out with the ball to protect the containment.
Always an issue when you're playing a team quarterbacked by a guy like Russell Wilson. Contain him, keep him in the pocket, keep an eye on him. 2nd and 10, handoff Lynch. Running to his left, runs into Fletcher Cox. Good play up front, and a loss on the play of about half a yard. It'll be 3rd and long coming up for Seattle.
Well, Fletcher Cox is coming off arguably his best game of the season on Thanksgiving against the Dallas Cowboys. He's off to a great start here on this possession. He's been in the middle of a lot of action already. The strength of this defense is their front 7. They play the run very well, and as Chip Kelly said, we match up well against running teams. He feels they're going to play awfully well here this afternoon.
That looked like a false start, and they're going to blow it dead. Forget the completion of Baldwin. This will make it 3rd down and 15.
Prior to the snap, false start. Offense number 76. 5-yard penalty.
That's been a season-long problem for Seattle. They are the most penalized team in the NFL with false starts. And they get Russell Okung, the terrific left tackle, to make it 3rd and 15.
Well, that makes it tough on this offense because they were already looking at a long down situation at 3rd and 10, and now at 3rd and 15. Those are hard to overcome for any offense, especially one like Seattle.
Wind whipping around this stadium. Handoff to Lynch. Marshawn Lynch on 3rd and 15's got a first down out near midfield. Lynch carrying it for 21 yards on 3rd down and 15. What a weapon he is in the backfield.
Yeah, and I thought he was going to cut back to his left. You're going to see the hole that opens up. Russell Okung, he comes off the ball. No one for him to block, but he stays front side. An excellent job of execution by the offensive line. Just nobody there. And to be able to hand the ball off to Marshawn Lynch, Richard Sherman, he likes it. 3rd and 15, and they pick it up on the ground.
Now Turbin in the backfield on a 1st down at the Philadelphia 49. Wilson, Turbin, too high. And Russell Wilson ends up on his back. He's been in that position a lot. Last 2 games, he's been sacked 11 times and 55 dropbacks coming in. So he's been banged around as both these teams have had injuries along their offensive lines.
Yeah, they've given up a lot of sacks for an offense that really is built around the running game and not Russell Wilson dropping back to pass that often. He takes a lot of hits, takes a lot of sacks. Offensive line has not done a great job, even going back to last year. Took a lot of hits last year for someone who didn't throw the ball as much as a lot of other quarterbacks in the league.
Going to try and throw here. He just floats it. He's got Turbin. And Turbin's got a 1st down. Keeping the play alive. And Robert Turbin picks up 14 yards and a 1st down.
That's pretty good protection this time up front. Russell Wilson unable to find anybody open downfield. He buys a little bit more time and finds Turbin. It's a good job by Russell Wilson finding the outlet back.
So remember, a 3rd and 15 converted on the 21-yard carry by Lynch. Now the 1st down to Turbin. And from the 35, they go back to the ground, and Turbin is wrapped up. A loss of 1 on the play by Cedric Thornton, and we go to Joel Klatt with a game break.
Joe, in a game some of America was watching, Andrew Luck, 90 yards, 11 plays in 3 minutes, gets the 1-yard touchdown to T.Y. Hilton, and the Colts win it by 1, 25-24 on the road. Joe, Troy, and Aaron, Andrew Luck does it again.
Yeah, what a game that is. After the big statistical game last week for Andrew Luck, pulling out a victory in Cleveland. Here's a pass complete out on the edge. That's Curse. And Curse is inches inside the 30, a gain of 6 brought down by Kendricks.
That's a big part of what the Seahawks offense likes to do. Try to spread people out. They go to an empty set backfield, get the ball out of Wilson's hands quickly, and see what they can do. These wide receivers do an outstanding job of blocking for one another in the wide receiver screen game as well as in the run game for Marshawn Lynch.
10th play of this drive. Third down and 5. Wilson in trouble. Kendricks can't bring him down. Wilson out of bounds, short of the 1st down. He's going to lose yardage on the play, and it's Marcus Smith, the rookie, there to force him out. A loss of 4. It's 4th down. We welcome in a new audience joining us as we play here late in Philadelphia. Big game in the playoff picture in the NFC. That's us. We just saw 10 plays from the Seahawks, including a conversion on 3rd down and 15 with a 21-yard run by Marshawn Lynch, but it's going to end. The drive is in a punt by John Ryan. With Sproles waiting for it. He throws a block, and the ball's down inside the 10. He just banged into the body of Morgan, and Burley is the one who gets the hit from Sproles. Eagles have it, first time, no score.
This game is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com.
Well, we just saw the Seahawks pass on what would have been a 52-yard field goal try. The sack and the work done against Russell Wilson. The 4-yard loss there on 3rd down was big. Now we see Mark Sanchez, and we saw him on Thanksgiving. Man, he looked great.
He looked really good. I thought it was the best that he had played since taking over as the Eagles starter. This is the biggest test that he's going to face. since he did take over, primarily because he's probably not going to get as much help as he's had from LaShawn McCoy. The Seattle defense, hard to run the football against, and you've got to be very precise with the football when you're throwing it against his secondary. But I thought he did a good job of that, Joe, on Thanksgiving Day against the Cowboys.
Well, LaShawn McCoy comes rolling into this game with back-to-back, not just 100-yard games, but dominant games. 289 rushing yards over the last two. But now you take on Seattle. They've got their middle linebacker Bobby Wagner back, and since he's returned, this defense looks like the defense from a year ago. Sanchez has to pull it down, and now fires, nearly picked. And there's Richard Sherman to start his day as he jumped in front of Jeremy Maclin. That was almost a big statement here to start.
Well, the Seahawks know that when you're backed up, you want to try to get the ball out quickly. Richard Sherman, he's on Maclin right from the start, almost gets a pick.
Here's another pass breakup. Crowd looking for a flag. They don't get it. Cam Chancellor came in and delivered a hit on Selleck. And it was evidently as the ball got there, no flag, now 3rd down and 10. And the crowd sees it on the board here, and they don't agree with the no call.
Yeah, I think there was contact, Joe, before the ball got there. I think these Eagle fans are right after having seen it on the big board that should have been called.
That was late getting the snap back. The pass is caught by Matthews, but forced out of bounds short of a first down by Byron Maxwell, and it's a quick 3 and out. A 6-yard completion to Jordan Matthews, and if you weren't aware, Mark Sanchez, as to how good this defense is playing, he is now, because they came up and forced a 3 and out to start the day.
Yeah, 3 straight passes, didn't even attempt a running play there on that first possession.
That one just got off the foot of Donnie Jones. Staying away as Baldwin takes a good Philadelphia bounce inside the 30. A 57-yard punt, and the Seahawks have it for the second time. Good work by Jones. No score in Philadelphia.
Today's game is sponsored by Ford. Beautiful things happen when you go further.
Think you got this league figured out there, Aikman?
Hardly.
I mean, these scores, even today, I would like you to explain to me how Carolina goes into New Orleans and beats the Saints 41-10. Tell me, right? How did that happen?
I can't explain it. I was hoping that's the one game you would not ask me about.
I mean, you just can't figure this thing out. And
Well,
now you've got
South.
Atlanta leading the South at 5-7. They go to Green Bay tomorrow. Good luck.
Is Tampa Bay still alive in the South?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm shoving all my money on the Tampa Bay. Seattle had it 6.5 minutes the first time, came up empty. The Eagles just had a 3 and out drive that lasted 25 seconds. Handoff is to Turbin. And Robert Turbin is going to take it out to the 34, a gain of 5 yards. And Turbin, a guy you asked Darrell Bevel about, could he be the guy? Is he the type guy that if Marshawn Lynch is finished with the Seahawks after this year, he is signed for another year, by the way, is he the guy that could be the running back for the Seahawks?
Yeah, and what Darrell Bevel said was that, hey, he can be the guy, but he's not Marshawn Lynch. And oh yeah, I know that. There's not many Marshawn Lynches even in this league.
They fake it to Turbin. Wilson flushed out, chased by Kendricks, and he has to fire it out of bounds. And so while you come into a game talking about Seattle's defense and how well the Seahawks have played, you really have to be impressed with the game the Eagles defense played on Thanksgiving in Dallas.
And they're kind of picking up where they left off last Thursday, and Russell Wilson wants to go play action, take a shot, deep post down the middle. But the Eagles play it well to keep the safety deep in the middle, and then they get the pressure on Wilson. So good execution. First down, they pick up 5 yards on the run, and now they force another 3rd down.
On 3rd down, Wilson out to his left. He's to the ground. Depends on the spot. He is short, and it's 4th down. Good play by Connor Barwin and Michael Kendricks, 2 good linebackers for Philadelphia.
Well, I talked about Connor Barwin and how he's used as a spy against Cam Newton, against Aaron Rodgers. He's doing the spy technique here on Russell Wilson. He gets in the line of scrimmage, but then he backs off, and he's shadowing the movements of Russell Wilson. And by doing that, it keeps the Seahawks from picking up that 1st down.
Connor Barwin already 3 tackles and a sack. They gave him the sack along the sideline. Here's Ryan bobbling it again. Eagles pick it up, and they have it at the 15. Zach Ertz. And the special teams has starred for Philadelphia all season long.
And what did Pete Carroll tell us, Joe? We've got to be able to neutralize the special teams. This was nothing that Philadelphia did. John Ryan just simply drops the ball. Philadelphia is not coming after it, but he puts the ball on the ground, and a big turnover here for the Eagles.
And then John Ryan set the whole punters are athletes and people too movement back about 10 years, trying to pick it up off the ground, and that was ugly. Good snap, nothing wrong with it, right into his gut. He dropped it and then couldn't pick it up.
Well, hey, the Eagles special teams has been outstanding all season long. You knew that was going to be a factor coming in this game, and like I said, that had nothing to do with what the Eagles did, just simply not able to secure the ball and punt.
And Mark Ertz at the 14. So right into the red zone. Here you go. LaShawn McCoy cuts upfield down inside the 10. And the red zone's been a problem. When quarterback Mark Sanchez took over, the Eagles were 7 for 7 in the red zone. They have slowed quite a bit since then. Here's McCoy again. Going to be 3rd down and a couple. Last 16 times in the red zone, the Eagles have only 5 touchdowns.
You know, they started off well last week against the Cowboys, had a couple touchdowns down there, and then really kind of dominated that first half of play. But because they were unable to capitalize on other drives in this area of the field, it kept it close there, at least for a while. This is important when you get down in this situation, being able to cash in with 7 points.
This is Sproles, right side, cuts upfield, didn't get it. And a good play defensively, Bobby Wagner, and they happy to have him back. The middle linebacker made the stop, and now it's 4th down, and they're going to go for it.
Really an outstanding job by Bobby Wagner, playing the run and being able to make a stop on Sproles before he picked that up.
The Eagles right now showing that they're going to go for it. They are 6 for 10 on 4th down this season. 4th and 1. It's McCoy. 1st down. Little statement from Chip Kelly to start his afternoon.
Yeah, it sure was, because as we've talked about, this run defense is pretty stout. Even though we're looking at 4th and short, to run right into the teeth of this defense here with LaShawn McCoy and pass up 3 points. It's an excellent job up front picking up the 1st down.
This is the 3rd straight week, Troy, for this group up front with Peters, Mathis, Kelsey, Gardner at guard, and Lane Johnson. And the running game has really taken off. They've already signaled 1st down. The defense asked for a measurement, and they're going to grant the measurement. You saw that Bill Vinovich, the referee, said 1st down, and by the length of...
Yeah, I'm surprised they even came out and measured that, Joe. I think Pete Carroll might have been the one who was talking to those officials and trying to get the chains to come out to slow down the pace, make any substitutions that he wanted to make, but clearly a 1st down, and normally they won't grant you a measurement when it's that obvious.
Yeah, Bill Vinovich did not have to grant the measurement if it's that obvious, and so when you play a team like Philadelphia, you think it's just a stall tactic. McCoy in the backfield, 1st and goal from the 3. McCoy got too close to the 1. Bobby Wagner was there. Wagner missed 4, making 5 games with a severe toe injury. Somehow stayed in shape. And with his speed and what he does in the middle of this defense, well, they look good again, and 54 is a big reason why. 2nd and goal. Here's Macklin, touchdown.
Joe, when they motion Jeremy Macklin and nobody goes with him in motion, immediately Mark Sanchez knows here he is here, but nobody goes with him in the defense. He knows he's got zone coverage. So Riley Cooper, he comes up, he's got to make a block on the corner. The only guy then that can make a play is the safety, Earl Thomas, and he can't get there in time to keep him from scoring.
So these are points off the turnover, as John Ryan could not handle the snap on the punt. And it's 7-zip. Clint Gresham snapped it. Nothing wrong with the snap. John Ryan just took his eye off it, then couldn't pick it up. Eagles cash in on America's Game of the Week on the touchdown to Macklin. 7-0. Philly on top.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Sprint.
What a year Jeremy Macklin has put together on this one-year deal, his best in the NFL. That's his 10th touchdown catch and only his 3rd in the red zone. He's got 7 touchdowns of 20 or more yards. He bet on himself, said no to a 5-year deal, and he's winning that bet right now.
Yeah, it's paid off for him, and a guy who missed all of last season, and with Deshaun Jackson no longer on this team, he's getting a lot more opportunities than he otherwise would have gotten.
Here is Richardson. Can't get to the 20. Got a big hit from Prozinski, who was added this year in season for what he does on special teams. Sanchez has got a touchdown throw. Carroll had a conversation with the officials. 7-0 Eagles. Former 49er waived by San Francisco, picked up by Seattle in season. It's going to have to be carted off. Number 95 there, and it was the body of Chris Prozinski who ended up making the tackle that fell into the back of the left leg of DeMarcus Dobbs. And so he'll be carted away. Some of the depth along that defensive front for Seattle takes a hit. A nice hand from these Philadelphia fans as Dobbs leaves on the cart. So now think about what we just saw. We saw Philadelphia go for it on 4th and 1. We saw him pick it up on the ground against his defense with McCoy, and then a nice little pass. It was like a swing pass out to Macklin for the touchdown and the first points of the day.
Yeah, Chip Kelly, he's aggressive on 4th down. They go for it, and it pays off for him. Finishing that drive off with 7 points.
3rd possession for the Seahawks. Toss to Lynch. Cuts upfield, will get to the 20. Maybe inches beyond. Picks up a couple. Brandon Bear on the tackle. And what did Chip Kelly tell his team all week? Be where your feet are. Meaning don't think ahead. Don't look at the big picture. The Eagles in a great spot in the NFC playoff race with where they sit on top in the NFC East. He used that even with regard to himself with the University of Florida job. Be where your feet are. Injury timeout. It's Carpenter. Looked like a left arm or left elbow injury for James Carpenter. You see that elbow get caught. So Alvin Bailey, who made 3 starts this year at left guard, takes over. 78 on 2nd and 8. And it's Lynch. Nothing. Play made by Kendricks. 3rd and 8 coming up.
That's an outstanding job by Michael Kendricks. You know, other than that 3rd down run by Marshawn Lynch, as you see Kendricks come right up through the block, and he's able to avoid it. And bring Marshawn Lynch down. Not easy to do. An outstanding job. Other than the one long run, 21 yards there on 3rd and 15. This Eagles defense has been able to slow Marshawn Lynch down.
You see James Carpenter back in there, 3rd and 8. Wilson gets out of that pileup. Flag is down. The throw is incomplete, but a flag now. 2 of them are back in the secondary. Indication is a hold, and if it's against the Eagles, that's an automatic 1st down.
Holding. Defense number 22. 5-yard penalty. Automatic 1st down.
They get Boykin.
Yeah, here he is right here in the slot, and there was clear contact as he's coming off the ball. As you see, Boykin has a hold of him. Jermaine Kearse, and they got the pressure on Russell Wilson inside. Connor Barwin was unable to make the tackle, but it didn't much matter. They were going to get the 1st down with the penalty there on Brandon Boykin.
So now 1st down, play action from Wilson. To the sideline and incomplete for the tight end Luke Wilson. Here is Joel Klatt standing by with a game break.
Joe, the Seattle opponent next week, San Francisco. Colin Kaepernick, after the 2-interception performance on Thanksgiving against Seattle, throws a touchdown here to Bruce Miller, 8 yards. Kaepernick, first TD to Miller since 2011, 7-3 49ers.
Yeah, Kaepernick coming off a rough one. There's the NFC West. Led by Arizona, but they have their hands full the rest of the way. Handoff is to Kearse. Good stiff arm. Flag is thrown. And it appears it's against Seattle. It was in the area of a block that was being thrown. And now here goes a guy taking a flop. That's Lockett. And nobody bought that. It's a carry of 5 yards. Even Vinovich is laughing on the flop.
Ricardo Lockett, he came in and made a block on Kerry Williams in the back, so the official's right there. It was an easy call to make.
During the run, illegal block in the back. Offense number 83. 10-yard penalty, be 2nd down.
And then the flop.
You look at this Eagles defense, though, Joe. They pick up the 1st down with the penalty on Boykin, but as I said, they've done a good job of being able to contain this running game of Seattle. And the Seahawks have to start relying on being able to throw the football. That's something that they've not had to do much of this year, and it'll be interesting then to see, because they're getting a lot of one-on-one looks, which is what you get when you play Philadelphia, and whether or not Seattle will be able to take advantage of the looks that they're getting.
Second down and 16. Wilson forced to scramble again. He unloads. That's Baldwin. Baldwin is going to make the catch out across the 40. Chip Kelly is screaming for a flag. There is not one on the ground. A gain of 24.
Well, Russell Wilson's buying some time, just trying to figure out how Baldwin was able to get so open with nobody over there in coverage.
It was 2nd and 16 and a 24-yard completion to Doug Baldwin. Here's Lynch. Runs into Fletcher Cox. This is a Seattle team that's been looking for a big threat on the outside since even before Pete Carroll got to Seattle. And as you look at where Baldwin, who's the leading receiver yardage-wise for Seattle, ranks in the NFL, he's 65th. They just don't have the threat. They miss Golden Tate, who's now in Detroit.
Well, they don't have that guy, but even if they had that guy, I don't know how much different this offense would really look based on what they like to do.
Here's one floated for the tight end, Moeaki. Flags all over the place. 2 separate flags. One on the Seattle side, one on the Philadelphia side. A completion of 15 yards to Moeaki. has been a nice pickup. Signed on the 4th of November. Guy's got a lot of talent, just has had a tough time staying healthy.
Holding. Defense number 72. Penalties decline. Zone to the play. First down.
So with the 2 flags, only 1 foul, and they get Cedric Thornton on a hold on Luke Wilson.
Well, I don't know. You talked about the penalties. You know, this was on the Eagles, but penalties that the Seattle Seahawks have had this season, and there's been a lot of penalties in this game for both teams already. At some point, you just let these guys play. I don't know if there was a whole lot there.
Seattle is averaging over 9 fouls per game, tied for the 4th most in the NFL. This one against Philadelphia's Cedric Thornton. Seahawks decline it. And now on first down, here's Lynch. Out of the backfield, and Marshawn Lynch survives 1 hit and then gets a couple of extra yards, a gain of 6. It's the end of 1. Maybe the biggest play already. The missed snap by John Ryan. 7-0 on America's Game of the Week. Back after this from your local Fox station. We saw Chip Kelly looking for a flag on that 2nd and 16 24-yard completion to Doug Baldwin. The reason why, he was looking at 77, who's 20 yards down the field. Mike Pereira saw that back in Los Angeles, alerted us to it. That's why Chip Kelly was hot, and the crew just missed the call. And that a big completion to help set up this situation. 2nd and 4. With the ball at the 33-yard line of Philadelphia. There are the numbers after 1. Numbers that really matter. 7-0 Philadelphia. Kristen Michael now in the backfield for the first time. And he gets it. Running right. Picks up a first down. It's Michael and Turbin who back up Lynch. And Kristen Michael just got 8.
That was a nice run there. The bigger holes that we've seen, he gets in behind Will Tukuafu, who's taken over now at the fullback position, a 280-pounder, and they're able to get the first down running behind him.
Second 10-play drive we've seen. This is a first down play with the ball at the 26. This is Wilson keeping it. Running left side. Touchdown, Seattle. That's number 5 on the year for Russell Wilson. And his threat at quarterback with what he can do with his legs. Right now, he's the best going at that. Touchdown with the extra point to come to try and tie it.
We saw this a number of times when they played the New York Giants. Trent Cole collapses on the dive, and so it leaves a lane then for Russell Wilson. But they go with the wide splits. They stack the wide receivers wide outside. It opens up the running lanes then for the quarterback, as you see. Man coverage, corners with their backs to the ball. A lot of room there for Russell Wilson.
Wilson started the day in what is now a tie game. 15th in the NFL overall, rushing for 679 yards. Now he gets a 26-yard touchdown run and his 5th touchdown on the ground of the season. We look at the playoff picture. Seattle's in a position where if they win their last 4, they'll win the NFC West no matter what else happens inside that division. Arizona, I think, is in a lot of trouble since they lost Carson Palmer, but what they've had to endure injury-wise, even on the defense. Now Matthew is out, and their schedule the rest of the way is really, really difficult. You look at that second team, Green Bay. They've got a date tomorrow night at home against Atlanta. It's supposed to snow in Green Bay from what I'm told. You know, they're rolling and almost impossible to beat at Lambeau Field right now.
Yeah, I think what we've seen up to this point, Green Bay looks to be the best team in the NFC, but that's why I think this game's so good right here, because you've got 2 teams that are really starting to peak at the right time. Seattle, who had struggled through much of the year, played good, but weren't playing as good as what we had expected from them based on how good they were a year ago. And then, of course, Philadelphia, who has always been explosive offensively, but the defense has begun to play at a very high level as well. So it's a great run here down the stretch for the NFC playoffs.
Russell Wilson now with 6 rushes of 20 or more yards this season. His latest just tied it. Out of the end zone, it's Huff. Huff gets popped by Cam Chancellor at the 20. A 25-yard return, and Cam Chancellor. Well, it leads us to this. This week, Fox brings you the biggest fight card in broadcast television history, with Junior Dos Santos taking on Stipe Miocic, plus Rafael Dos Anjos battling Nate Diaz, and a whole lot more. A 2-night UFC event begins Friday with the Ultimate Fighter finale on Fox Sports 1 and continues Saturday with UFC Fight Night on Fox, and that's Cam Chancellor just doing what Cam Chancellor does.
Yeah, nobody really does it better than him in the league. I mean, Cam Chancellor is such a big physical guy. He's stuck Josh Huff. He didn't go anywhere once contact was made.
6'3", 232 is Chancellor. Strong safety, and now here's a handoff to McCoy. Little misdirection, and McCoy picks up almost 10. We'll see where they spot him. Earl Thomas on the tackle. They're going to give him a first down. Sanchez out to his left, hits Matthews, and Jordan Matthews has got another Eagle first down. 17 yards to the rookie, number 81.
Well, you watch the Seahawks here. Watch what the flow does off the play action. So they get everybody going one direction. They bring Jordan Matthews in behind it. Great execution. And, man, what a year the rookie Jordan Matthews has had this year.
You can see the umpire get in there and not allow the snap before the other officials were set. Here's one for Cooper downfield, incomplete. And only because it's going to take a while to get players back down the field will there be a little bit of a lull between plays.
Yeah, you know, you look at that last play there with Mark Sanchez. One of the things that he has not done as much of as Nick Foles did when he was in the lineup is drive the ball down the field. Now, Earl Thomas is playing center field. They had a chance, but boy, when you hang the ball up with Earl Thomas back there in the middle, you better know where you're throwing it, because he can cover a lot of ground.
Here's Sproles. Sproles shook one tackle, cannot shake another. Bennett, the first guy there. And boy, has he played well. A loss of 8, and Michael Bennett just knifed right through and was there to meet Sproles just about the time he got the handoff.
Well, they pull the offensive lineman, and nobody accounted for Michael Bennett. He's hard to slow down when you got people blocking him, let alone when you don't put anyone on him.
That's a big play. Brings up 3rd and 18. Here's Sproles. Out across the 45, and it's 4th down. And we're kind of getting what we expected coming in. We saw Philadelphia's defense take a big step forward on Thanksgiving. They've had 9 days to prepare. And Seattle's just picking up where they left off. They come in not having allowed a touchdown over the last 2 games.
Well, you look at the last 7 games. They've held 6 of those teams to under 200 yards passing.
Here's a line drive punt by Jones. And it will be left alone by Doug Baldwin. Tapped down out across the 15-yard line at the 16, 38-yard punt. Seattle will have it, tied at 7.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by the Volkswagen Sign and Drive event. By Citizen Echo Drive, powered by light. Any light never needs a battery. Citizen. And by Merrill Edge. It's investing streamlined.
Aerial coverage this afternoon and evening provided by Nationwide. Aerial coverage provided by Nationwide. 7-7 game. Starting at the 16 is Seattle. Defense for Philadelphia coordinated by Bill Davis. They've been gaining momentum all season long. Good test on each side today. Here's Lynch. Well played up front. Marshawn Lynch will pick up 3. Fletcher Cox He is active. 2nd and 7 coming.
Yeah, so here they've been able to contain Marshawn Lynch, and then you've got Russell Wilson who's able to get outside and then run that one in for the touchdown, and that's why this running game is so dangerous. I mean, you put the spy on Russell Wilson in passing downs with Connor Barwin, but half of his runs have come off of the read option, and he's got 300-yard rushing games this season. He's off to a good start on the ground today.
Hey, alert, 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 alert. Here you go. Blue lady. Blue.
On 2nd and 7, it's Lynch. Pushing his fullback Tukuafu, and a lineman out there in his way. A gain of 2. Cole on the stop. Brandon Graham as well. 3rd and 5 coming up.
Well, Fletcher Cox, he plays this about as well as you can play it. He just strings it down the line of scrimmage and doesn't give up much ground, and then allows his teammates to come make a play. And this guy's had an outstanding season, but that Thanksgiving game and then again here today, he has already made his presence felt.
Third down and 5. Pass too high. Incomplete. Baldwin, the intended target, and that one got away out of the right hand of Russell Wilson.
They had a chance on Baldwin. Baldwin running a square in. The Eagles, they lock up. Looked like there might have been a little contact right at the top of this route. As much as they've called things, they don't call it there, and I think it was a right non-call. Malcolm Jenkins was in coverage, and he's entitled to his place on the field as well. Baldwin runs into him, but the Eagles do a good job getting off the field.
John Ryan handles this one, but hits kind of an ugly punt. And they're going to mark the ball at the 47. Just a 32-yard punt by John Ryan. Tied in Philadelphia. Mike Pereira joins us from Los Angeles in the Fox Command Center. And Mike, obviously pace of play, this up-tempo style of Chip Kelly, not only has the attention of defenses around the National Football League, but it's got the attention of any officiating crew that has to work these games.
Well, it's got the attention of the league, too, because they've actually notified the officials. Dean Blandino has, that said if teams are going to run this fast pace, really the play clock is running, so they're entitled to snap the ball, but don't let them snap it until you as the officials are in position. Primarily Paul King, the umpire in this game, on punt plays at least more than halfway back toward the kicker, and then on regular scrimmage plays back behind the deepest back. If they're not, shut the play down and reset up and then go.
Handoff is to McCoy. Yeah, so the pressure then is on the umpire, and we're going to see it here. Paul King's got to get the ball down, spot it properly, and then get behind everybody. This is a workout for a guy who's, who's not a young man. Here's McCoy, who is bottled up in the backfield. Good play up front by Seattle. 3rd down coming up.
Joe, I know in talking with Pete Carroll, he says, hey, we've been preparing for up-tempo offenses now for the last couple of years. If you're going to play in modern football, you've got to be ready for it. But as Chip Kelly said, other teams line up fast, but they don't play fast. This is a different style than other teams around the league.
It's now 3rd down and 10. We'll see if we can hear more from Mike. Here is a pass that is broken up. So 4th down. And so we heard from Mike that it's got the attention of the league. Dean Blandino, who's the head of the officiating for the National Football League, they want to make sure that all of their guys are in position to officiate before the snap of the ball. And when you talk about Philadelphia, a team that's running 73 plays a game, the most in the NFL, and they average a play every 22.8 seconds, which is the fastest pace in the NFL. A lot on these officials. Here's Baldwin on the punt by Jones, and Baldwin is going to be knocked down by Prozinski. And so whether we talk about the officials or Chip Kelly or Pete Carroll talk to the officials, obviously a big storyline on this day.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Cialis.
Take a look at some of the early game headliners and leaders. Cam Newton, a big day and a blowout win for Carolina at New Orleans. Odell Beckham Jr., we saw him a few weeks ago in Seattle. The world saw that catch on Sunday night against Dallas, and Jared Cook All of a sudden, the Rams, nobody wants to play the Rams right now, and Arizona is at St. Louis on Thursday night. Arizona's going to have a tough time winning another game the rest of this season. Here's Wilson out to his right. Going to tuck it and go across the 20. They're going to mark him out at the 23. A run of 7 yards. Connor Barr went out there to force him out.
You mentioned Odell Beckham there with the Giants and the big day that he had today, Joe. And I've always believed that outside of quarterback, the hardest position to come in and play as a young player is wide receiver. There's a lot of adjustments that they have to get used to. They're playing against stronger corners, getting off the line of scrimmage. Here's a young man who missed all of offseason because of a hamstring injury, missed the early part of the year, and he has had an outstanding season for such limited time on the practice field.
Second down and 3. Wilson keeps it, and he will lose yardage. Kendricks was in there, wasn't alone. Trent Cole as well.
That's an outstanding job by the Eagles. They crash here, and then they loop around with the linebacker. This is textbook as to how you play the read option. So Russell Wilson sees the guy dive then on Marshawn Lynch. He pulls it, and then there's Michael Kendricks on the outside to make the play. That's a great job.
Now third down and 4. They're going to shut the play down.
Neutral zone infraction. Defense number 58. Unabated to the quarterback. 5-yard penalty. Results in a first down.
And Trent Cole, he's mad at himself. I don't know if it was the movement by James Carpenter. He taps the center to let him know it's a silent count. And right about the time that he moved to tap the center, here came Cole, and that's a costly penalty for the Philadelphia Eagles, giving up a first down without even having to snap the ball.
Talked about the center, Lemuel Jean-Pierre, who was making his second straight start. Here's Lynch. Just no daylight. And with that, no gain. We'll check in with Joel Klatt for a game break.
Yeah, guys, you were talking about the troubles that the Cardinals are going to have down the stretch. Well, they're having those troubles today against Kansas City. Jamal Charles, his second touchdown of the day, his 11th touchdown in his last 8 games, and the Cardinals are up down 14-6. Excuse me, Joe, Troy, and Aaron.
And Arizona is at St. Louis, at home against Seattle, at San Francisco. Good luck.
And you're on record saying they won't win another game.
I said they're going to have a tough time, but I'll take the next step. That's fine. Here's Baldwin with a diving catch. And Doug Baldwin is out across the 45 to the 47. Good for 20.
It's an outstanding move off the line of scrimmage. You see how he's able to get separation there from Malcolm Jenkins and then get up in the seam. That's a good route. That's really one of the strengths of Doug Baldwin's, is his quickness and explosiveness and the ability to make a move like that off the line of scrimmage and give his quarterback a good target.
The guy is getting his master's and wants to teach high school math and live in the Seattle area, Doug Baldwin. Played collegiately at Stanford. Over the middle, pass caught. Another first down, and this time it's Kevin Norwood. That's only his 6th catch of the year.
Yeah, they've been waiting for someone opposite of Baldwin to really kind of step up for this offense. Jermaine Kearse, he's gotten his opportunities, but right now what we're seeing from Seattle is they're not going to get away from what they do, and that's running the football. But the Eagles have been able to bottle up Marshawn Lynch, and now we're seeing them starting to hit some passes now in the passing game.
Wilson has hit 7 different receivers and run for a touchdown. Has to run here. He's going to be marked out at the 35, gain of 7. There's Barwin again to make the stop.
Yeah, Barwin is, essentially in the spy position, but there was nowhere for Russell Wilson to go with the football. But Connor Barwin, as he drops off into coverage, he's in the middle, but he's got some depth. And then when Wilson takes off, he's just unable to close on that ground. So Wilson gets a nice gain out of the play.
Third down coming up. Lynch gets 2. Casey Matthews, who gets picked on a lot around here, at least early, has really stepped in after the Eagles lost to D'Amico Ryans, who played 8 games, tore his Achilles, the 2-time Pro Bowler. So it's Casey Matthews in his spot.
Yeah, he's done a real nice job. That's another reason why this front seven has been good. He stepped in. He got some playing time when Kendricks was down earlier in the year. So for a young guy, he's gotten a lot of time on the field, and it's paid off when he's had to be relied on more heavily when D'Amico Ryans went down for the season.
Third down and 1. No surprise. Lynch, he is twisting for a first down. And with the game clock at under 4:40 to go in the first half, a gain of 3 by Lynch, and Benny Logan is slow to get up. There's a drive, another long one, but only 7 points on the board so far for the Seahawks.
Yeah, the Seahawks, they've been able to move the football. They're accumulating quite a bit of yards here in this first half. Of course, they've been on the field a lot. This defense is accustomed to that.
Well protected. Time runs out, and Wilson just throws it away. Pressure by Benny Logan. We saw a little gimpy after that last play. Benny Logan got headlines in that quote-unquote bulletin board stuff talking about the Cowboys' offensive line leading into the Thanksgiving Day matchup, saying that he doesn't see them, and this is paraphrasing, as being that special. I'll say this: Philadelphia outplayed that young, good offensive line of the Dallas Cowboys that night.
Well, they did that day, and they get another shot at them here next week, which, depending on what happens in this game, could be for the division title for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Second and 10. Here's Turbin, and he's wrapped up in the backfield, a loss of 1. There's Fletcher Cox again, the first guy there.
Tell you what, this guy's playing like Reggie White. It's unbelievable watching him in this game and how he's just defeating blockers and going right through Jean-Pierre. This time at center. They move him all over the place. Last year they put him at over the center a couple of times. He said he was okay with it. They've done more of it this year, and he said that's his favorite spot to line up. Go one-on-one against the center. He's got a guy who's making a second start this season at that position, and he does a great job beating him to the ball carrier.
Now Pete Carroll from the sideline takes a timeout. First one taken in this half. Timeout, Seattle. And with 3:24 left in the first half, we'll keep it right here. See Russell Wilson there, and by the way, is playing in his 50th game, his 50th career start. And you talk about a guy who has really lived right in the NFL. 50th career start today for Russell Wilson. He's never played in a game in the NFL where his team hasn't at least had a lead at some point in the ball game, and that speaks to how good this organization for Seattle is built and the success under Pete Carroll.
Yeah, I saw a piece earlier today on one of the pregame shows about Russell Wilson and John Schneider going after him and bringing him into Seattle. Of course, they had made the big acquisition that offseason for Matt Flynn, and I'm not sure they realized at that time that they had a franchise quarterback, but he has been exceptional, and he'll be cashing in before long on another contract.
Third-round pick. And a young star, 3rd and 11. Wilson in trouble again, just throws it away. He did not get it to the line of scrimmage, and that'll be grounding. Kendricks was there and made the play. Vinovich threw the flag. Here's the call.
Intentional grounding. Offense number 3. 10-yard penalty. Loss of down. 4th down.
Troy, that's twice now. The defense for the Eagles has come up with a big sack to move Seattle out of field goal range.
No, this defense has done an outstanding job. They've been able to get some pressure on Russell Wilson. This time Kendricks, he comes up the middle. Just nowhere for Wilson to go with the ball. He's trying to avoid the sack. Doesn't get it to the line of scrimmage. It's a good call there by the officials, and a big play, as you said, Joe, knocking them out of field goal range.
It was Barwin the first time. It's Kendricks this time. And so now Philadelphia's going to get it back. End over end punt. Keeping it away from Sproles, and a good punt by John Ryan. So he made that mistake early, but Ryan hits a beauty here, and they're going to mark the ball out at the 7. We're tied at 7 on America's Game of the Week on Fox. 73rd anniversary, December 7th, 1941. 3 NFL games were scheduled, including Sammy Baugh and the Redskins taking on Tommy Thompson and the Philadelphia Eagles. So the Eagles were in Washington to take on Sammy Baugh. Middle of the game in D.C., and the news broke of the attack on Pearl Harbor. The next day, USA would declare war and officially enter World War II. A day that certainly did live in infamy and changed the lives of so many in this great country. A little misdirection on the handoff. That play worked earlier, and now McCoy picks up 5. That's only the 18th play from scrimmage that the Eagles have run, a team that's averaging 73 offensive plays a game.
Oh, it's been a struggle. They've been unable to convert on third downs, haven't gotten anything going in the running game to speak of.
Here's McCoy now right side. Third down coming up. This will be the 5th possession for Philadelphia. They have only 4 first downs, 2 3-and-outs. And so far, before a third down and 2, they've got 54 yards. But they did have the mistake by John Ryan. The punter for the Seahawks took over the 14-yard line and eventually got a 1-yard touchdown pass to Macklin. On third down, here's McCoy. Big first down. The drive continues out of bounds at the 20. And that will bring us to the 2-minute warning here in Philadelphia. A defensive struggle. Big game for the playoff picture in the NFC. Tied at 7. 2 minutes left. First half. Follow your favorite team all season long. Go to itunes.com/NFL. Take a look at some of the numbers of the defenses that Mark Sanchez faced at the time he faced them this year as a starter. At least statistically, with the way they do the stats in the NFL. Dallas the best until today, as he takes on the #1 defense in all the land, the Seattle Seahawks.
They don't make many mistakes. Pretty basic in what they do, but they've got some great athletes executing them.
Here's McCoy again, right side. Nice move out on the edge as he went around Cam Chancellor. Forced out by Wagner, a gain of 4, and that stops the clock with 1:54 left.
See some of the moves that LeSean McCoy has. I think he's really a special player. They're trying to get him on track. Been having a whole lot of running room for him in this first half.
Yeah, coming off 2 big games. This one almost got away, and Macklin had it and lost it. And that was nearly a catch and a fumble. Big hit put on. Cam Chancellor was out there, and it'll be 3rd down and 6.
Yeah, you said it, Joe. The ball got away from Mark Sanchez, so he leads him up the field, and at that point the play was pretty much shot. He's unable to make the catch, but because it was out in front of him, even if he had been able to make the catch, he wasn't going to be able to allow the blockers to get in front of him to help.
Only 3 completions for number 3. 3rd down and 6. Pass is caught. That's Cooper, but short of a first down. And now Pete Carroll wants to use another timeout. Good play by Byron Maxwell.
It sure was, because he's got to run across the field, playing man coverage. This is how you want to try to attack him as an offense. Run some crossing routes, create some separation, a well-thrown ball, but Maxwell, he's able to make up the ground and get the tackle there on Cooper before he picks up the first.
Byron Maxwell, who missed 4 games with a bad calf. They really like him. He's kind of the forgotten guy in that Legion of Boom backfield defensively for Seattle, and it's been shutdown time for this Seahawks defense against the Eagles here on the road.
Yeah, well, coming into this game, you know, Seattle obviously has been playing great defensively, but they haven't faced any world beaters either offensively. And you say, okay, well, this is going to be a good test for Seattle. It's going to be a good test for the Eagles from their perspective. And who's won? Well, here in this first half, this Seattle defense has continued to do what they've done to everybody else here over the second half of the season.
67 yards so far for Philadelphia offensively. And Seattle about to get it back. Line drive punt by Donnie Jones. Baldwin on the move, got hit 2 times. And the tackle was made by Nolan Carroll. Nothing on the return after a 39-yard punt. Seahawks have it, tied at 7. Short touchdown throw from Mark Sanchez for the first points. Long touchdown run for that guy. Russell Wilson to tie it. And now the Seahawks have it. The ball sitting at their own 33. You look at the leaders, not much offense either side. And the minute you think Seattle's about to get on a roll, Philadelphia defense steps up and makes a play. One timeout left for the Seahawks. Handoff to Turbin. Kendricks is there. A gain of 4. So now the Seahawks have to hurry it up. Just 3 men on the rush, and getting home is Vinny Curry. And that's his 8th sack of the season. And this defense really racking them up for Philadelphia.
Vinny Curry, he just goes right past Justin Britt at right tackle and hits Russell Wilson, and it's an excellent job. They do a 3-man rush. He's going to come right off the edge. Russell Wilson doesn't feel him coming at all. He's going to try to escape coming out the backside of the pocket, and Vinny Curry is there to bring him to the ground.
This is a Philadelphia defense that came in number 1 in the NFC in sacks with 42. Buffalo leading the NFL with 48. 2 sacks added to it, so 44 for the year. And Marshawn Lynch with the Seahawks in a 2-minute offense on the bench. Now a big 3rd down and 13, and timeout taken by Philadelphia. They want to get the ball back, obviously, and have time on the clock to get something done.
Well, this defense, one of the things they've done well all year long is get after the quarterback. 2nd in the NFL in sacks, and they have harassed Russell Wilson here in this first half.
Three-man rush again with Barwin spying Wilson. Pass caught. Baldwin. And Baldwin's got a 1st down out near midfield. They're going to mark him right at the 50. A completion of 20 yards.
A 3-man rush, and you're not able to get to Russell Wilson, and with time, he's able to find the open man.
So Philadelphia took a defensive timeout, betting on the defense. Russell Wilson spoils that. Now he fires one out of bounds. Had pressure and then threw it over the head of Jermaine Kearse.
You know, Connor Barwin is right here, and so when he is playing the spy and you only then rush 3 guys, you're essentially taking your best pass rusher out of the play. He's got time in the pocket in the middle. You've got the inside dig route by Doug Baldwin with an excellent route against Boykin to create the separation and pick up the 1st down.
On 3rd down and long, the 20-yard completion. Seahawks with 5 plays of 20 or more yards in this half. "35 seconds left, 1 timeout. Wilson has to just unload it again. And he had Kendricks right in his face. 3rd and 10 coming up.
It's a very active defensive front. They run a lot of twists, a lot of games, a lot of stunts, and then they bring those linebackers. And so we've seen free runners on Russell Wilson a number of times.
And Russell Wilson just 9 out of 17 here in this first half. And Chip Kelly,
he's wanting intentional grounding again.
3rd down and 10. They're going to get him for delay of game.
game. Offense number 3. 5-yard penalty. Still third down.
So it makes it 3rd down and 15.
Well, we'll see if they give it to Marshawn Lynch again. That's what they did the first time, and they picked it up with a 21-yard run.
Well, they can't give it to Lynch because he's got a stocking cap on. I mean, they could, but wouldn't be very effective. 3rd down and 15. Already have converted a 3rd and 13 on this drive. It looked like Wilson was ready for that snap, and now he's running around. Down the middle's got a man. Pass caught. Richardson. And Seattle will spend their final timeout. So a conversion on 3rd and 13, and now one on 3rd and 15 of 20 yards, and Seattle's in business. So's Kurt Menefee.
Ahead on the Visa halftime, I'll get together with my little buddies to discuss the Browns coming up short against the Colts, the Steelers and Ravens coming up big, and the Titans fall to the Giants. Our Giants of football analysis will be back to break it all down at the half. Right, guys?
Here's the snap. I agree, Joe, that Russell Wilson wasn't ready for the snap, and he's got pressure. He's on his back foot, and he is able to lay it. They turn him loose and pick up the 1st down. It's pretty incredible. That should have been a penalty. It came in with the left arm across the headgear of Russell Wilson. Trent Cole. They missed that, but a big 3rd down conversion once again by Seattle on 3rd and long.
Yeah, they've been waiting for Paul Richardson, 2nd-round pick out of Colorado. Came in with 14 catches on the year, and Chip Kelly's still working over this officiating crew. Seattle with no timeouts. From right here, it would be a 53-yard try. And there are 20 seconds left in the half. Here's the route.
Yeah, the route by Paul Richardson. He was running a comeback. He sees that his quarterback's in danger, and the Eagles just have their back then to him, and he's able to find the open spot, and Russell Wilson locates him. Just a breakdown with some time, and you can tell Pete Carroll's fired up about that. They're in a position now to where they might be able to come away with some points here to end this half.
From what we're told right now, the Seahawks are with the win. Career long for Stephen Hauschka. Came this year a 58-yarder. Do 53 from here. Here's another one just thrown out of play, and Chip Kelly's saying, where's that? I think Chip Kelly's looking for grounding about every other play.
There was pressure in Wilson's face, so that's why he's unloading the ball. But if there's any gray area whatsoever, the officials are not going to call intentional grounding.
Stephen Hauschka told our Aaron Andrews he is comfortable from 52. This is 53 on a blustery day in Philadelphia. If the Seahawks don't get any more yards, there's 16 seconds left. As he throws it incomplete for Moyaki. And now 3rd down and 10 with 11 ticks left.
Like Connor Barwin got in at the end of this play. They tried doubling him too with a back chipping to his side, and he still comes in at the end of this play and drives Wilson to the turf.
It's got to be interesting for an offensive line watching somebody like Barwin just lurk as a spy in case Wilson takes off, because when he does come and get him, you're not even accounting for it.
Yeah, because he doesn't always just hang back. Sometimes he'll shoot the gap even when he's in the spy position. It also frees up these other rushers to not have to worry about contain.
It's now 3rd down and 10. That is caught by Doug Baldwin, and a big completion. It's now 4th down, but he stops the clock, and the field goal unit will come on, and that is a gain of 9 yards to make the field goal attempt a little easier. And from this spot, they marked it at the 26. We're going to have a timeout coming from Philadelphia. The Eagles may want to review. That might be why they're calling a timeout. Chip Kelly is still there. Ball's at the 26. And he's saying you better look at that. That's why they just called a timeout. He wants the booth to review it. It would be a 44-yard try from this spot. And let's take a look. There's a bobble. By the time he secures the catch, he's got it there. And I think the right foot's down as he's securing it, then the left foot gets down right there.
Yeah, it looks to me, Joe, like he does get both feet down. It just becomes a question of when exactly did he have possession of the ball. It's certainly worth taking a look at, and if they're not going to, then Chip Kelly calls the timeout to force him to. But a big completion. Russell Wilson once again pressure in his face, throwing off his back foot, but throws it with accuracy, then to Baldwin to pick up the 9 yards and make this an attempt now for 3 points.
44-yard try. Hauschka has had 2 blocked, has missed only once. He is good. That ball hooking all the way, and it just stays up long enough for it to get into the bottom left corner of the uprights. Good kick, driving kick on this windy day here at Lincoln Financial Field.
Well, from what we've seen here in this first half, Joe, every point is big. You know, it's been a defensive battle. Points have been hard to come by. So for Seattle to be able to finish that drive off with 3 points right before the end of the half is big. Their defense has been outstanding. It's been hard to get anything going offensively for Philadelphia. The 7 points that they get come off of the bobbled punt, then by the Seattle Seahawks.
2 big 3rd and long conversions by Seattle on that drive. A 3rd and 13, and then a 3rd and 15. It was Baldwin, it was Richardson, and then on a 3rd down and 10, they get 9 yards, which, as we saw with the way that ball got through the uprights, was big on the completion of Baldwin to allow Hauschka to move in 9 and hit that 44-yarder for a 10-7 lead. Meanwhile, for Philadelphia, they have 67 total yards of offense. That will be a new low. The fewest yards in a half under Chip Kelly, who has gone 19-9 regular season in his 1+ years here in Philadelphia. Casey on the return, and that'll do it for a tightly played first half here in Philly. On America's Game of the Week, they're the only points for Philadelphia. The 1-yard touchdown to Macklin, the run by Wilson, then the field goal. 10-7 Seattle. Kurt, guys, take it away. Start of the second half, 242 yards for Seattle, 67 for Philadelphia. Today's excitement brought to you by Nissan. Russell Wilson, he did it with his legs, he did it with his arm to get his team down into field goal position at the end of the half. And so as we welcome you inside the broadcast booth, I'm Joe, that's Troy. How does Philadelphia, how does Philadelphia figure this out offensively and start moving the ball against this #1 ranked defense?
Pretty incredible what Seattle's been able to do defensively. Here's a team that's averaged over 400 yards a game, and they're held to under 100 there in the first 30 minutes. I think the guy who can really create a matchup problem for Seattle is Darren Sproles. You know, whether that's from the backfield running routes from there or getting him on the field along with LaShawn McCoy, not something they do a lot of. But they've got to be able to get some production out of this offense because it was hard sledding there in the first half.
Hauschka hit the 44-yarder toward the end of the first half, drives it out of the back of the end zone, and let's take you down the field. And Aaron Andrews.
Well, I said to Chip Kelly, 67 yards, and he goes, we'll be all right. But he said, first of all, this offense just needs to get on the field. He said, our biggest problem is we think we've got Russell Wilson. We think we've contained him. And then he converts on 3rd and long. We've got to get Russell Wilson off the field. And once this offense is on the field, we need to establish a drive. Did talk to Pete Carroll, by the way, and he told me for their offense, they need to clean it up. And he said, first, by doing that, we need to establish a run here and not turn the ball over anymore.
Yeah, for the most part, Marshawn Lynch had that big run on 3rd down and 15, the 21-yarder in the opening drive, and that's really the biggest statement that Lynch has made in this game. And now here's LaShawn McCoy. That ball may have come out It's still out. And it looks like Seattle at the end got on it, and they did. That could be the third fumble loss of the season for McCoy. Let's take another look as it is knocked out by K.J. Wright. And then the ball was pinned under the back of Wright. And I think Earl Thomas came in at the end and picked it up. Maxwell was in there. There's Thomas diving in there, and he's the one that gets it.
Well, LaShawn McCoy, he does have a tendency to get loose with the ball when he's carrying it there in his right arm, and as he starts to try to make a move, it drops low, and it gets knocked out. And we just heard Aaron Andrews' report about trying to get something going offensively in the first possession to start this half. They gave it right back to Seattle with great field position.
This is a Philadelphia team that's won all 6 they've played here at home in 10 straight, averaging just under 37 points a game here at home. They have been shut down. And now each side with a turnover. Here is Lynch. Well played for the most part, but Lynch turns it into a 4-yard gain. This is the first time Seattle's been in the red zone today. And despite having Marshawn Lynch, they are number 26 in the NFL converting these opportunities into touchdowns.
Yeah, they've had a tough time, especially here the last couple of weeks. Just 1 for 5 down in the red zone. That was the case last week in that win against the San Francisco 49ers. The Eagles would be pretty happy right here if they were able to hold them to 3 points.
Here's Wilson keeping it. Looking back for Lynch, left alone. That's a touchdown for Seattle. A well-designed play, and Marshawn Lynch was forgotten about until it was too late.
Seen them run this play earlier in the year where they run the play action to Marshawn Lynch and they roll Russell Wilson then out to his right. Looks like he's going to try to maybe throw it in the flat to Doug Baldwin, and then Marshawn Lynch sneaks out the backside. Nobody accounts for him. Well executed play by the Seahawks to come away with a touchdown.
Second touchdown of the day for this Seahawk offense. And Lynch has his 4th receiving touchdown of the season. But it started with a fumble. First play from scrimmage to start this second half. LaShawn McCoy put it on the ground. 7 points off the turnover on a touchdown throw from Wilson to Lynch.
This game is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. By Nissan, innovation that excites. By Burger King, mix and match 2 large premium sandwiches for just $5 only at Burger King. And by Walmart, where you'll find unbeatable prices on this year's top gifts.
Battleship New Jersey, located across the Delaware River in Camden, New Jersey. Launched on December 7, 1942. Currently a museum, and LaShawn McCoy is left a pace on the sideline after that fumble. It was turned into 7 points. Good return. Out across the 40 is Huff. Ball comes out, and they're going to rule him down. Seattle came away with a football, but they are ruling Josh Huff down prior to the fumble. We'll take another look. And I think that's a good call. It is coming loose, though. The body of Huff is on top of it. Jerron Johnson is the one who is there. Hauschka involved, and Hauschka was the first guy to start to dislodge it, and then Johnson followed up. But they're saying no fumble.
Yeah, it was close. That to me looked like the ball was moving, and I don't know that he had possession of it before the knee went to the ground. I think it's a good challenge by Pete Carroll.
That's exactly what he has done. Right now it's ruled Philadelphia's football, but a challenge by Seattle. And Jerron Johnson not only forced it but came away with it. Was he down?
Yeah, from that angle there, Joe, it looked like, you know, maybe he did still maintain possession prior to his knee hitting the ground. From the other angle, I thought it looked like it might have been moving a little bit. This is going to be a close one as to how they look at it and what the decision is going to be. But
Seattle
well worth the
is challenging
challenge
ruling
by
on the
Pete
field
Carroll.
of a fumble. Timeout.
So Pete Carroll with the challenge. We'll get the call when we come back. Is this yet another Eagle turnover? Mike Pereira will join us from Los Angeles. What'd you see, Mike?
You know, I'll tell you, I think it's going to stay as the runner being down because I think he's still got the ball in his right hand, although the left arm is off when the elbow hits. I don't think it comes out until after that. Watch the right hand on the ball. Still on the ball, still on the ball. Then it comes out when he hits the ground. New York's been pretty consistent on these types of plays of staying with the initial call on the field.
You can see Maragos, thanks Mike, then punch it out with Johnson on his knees. Here's the call from Vinovich.
After reviewing the play, ruling on the field stands. Seattle is charged with their first timeout and their first challenge.
Well, it's an interesting point by Mike, Joe. I think that, had they have ruled it a fumble initially, I don't think there was enough there to really overturn that call either. But because the call was made the way that it was, pretty close, but Philadelphia Eagles able to avoid one.
Well, let's see if the Eagles can do something with it. Starting at their own 46. Good return by Huff. Pass caught. Cooper. He is into Seattle territory, just shy of the 49, a gain of 5.
Well, you look at this Eagles offense now, and it is hard. They've got great field position. It's hard to put a number of plays together against this defense and move the football consistently and come away with points, but yet they don't give up big plays down the field either. That's why it's so difficult, and that's why this defense is as good as they've been.
Here's Sproles, right side. Nowhere to go. And the big body of Tony McDaniel stopped it for Seattle. He was not alone. A loss of 1, third down coming up.
Well, we anticipated coming in that the Eagles would have a hard time running the football against this Seattle defense. Certainly they came in running it awfully well, especially the last 2 weeks. Has not been the case. And you just get the idea that anything they're going to be able to do is going to have to be through the air with Mark Sanchez.
Eagles need a first down. Third down and 6. Passes floated. Incomplete, but a flag. Zach Ertz with coverage by Wagner.
That was an easy call. Bobby Wagner, as Zach Ertz comes off the ball at the top of the route, trying to get to the outside. He grabs him. First down, Philadelphia.
Pass interference. Defense number 54. Spot foul. Automatic first down.
Along the lines of what you're saying, what Mark Sanchez told us yesterday, defensively they say, all right, run it for 3 or 4 yards, complete it for 5 or 7 yards, do it again. Complete one for 5 or 7 yards, do it again. You have to do it all the way down the field. That's why they're so tough to score against. Here's McCoy left side. And he will take it just inside the 35. A pickup of 3.
Those running yards, Joe, are hard to come by, and then when you do throw it, hey, we know how good Richard Sherman is and Cam Chancellor and the Legion of Boom and all that comes with that. And not only is it hard to get any kind of separation, but then when you do, you've got to be really good with ball location as the quarterback.
Here's one down the sideline. Pass caught. He's in for the touchdown.
You're going to see the action that the Eagles employ. They come with a slant here. Ertz up there. And what happens is KJ Wright, he can't stay over the top because he has to navigate the slant route, and it frees Ertz up to get a step. And then Mark Sanchez lays it out there and able to make the play for the touchdown.
35-yard touchdown throw to Zach Ertz, his 3rd touchdown of the season. And for Philadelphia, their previous long before that was a 17-yard play. That was well designed, well executed by Mark Sanchez, who is so smart when you have a chance to sit down and talk with him. Really gets the big picture, how this offense works, what a defense is trying to do against them. They're looking at the left foot right there of Zach Ertz. It's a scoring play, so they review it. We'll take a break and get the call.
This game is sponsored by Verizon XLTE on America's largest, most reliable 4G LTE network.
We're going to get the call here in seconds from Bill Vinovich. We don't think it's going to be overturned, but we will find out from the man who counts.
After reviewing the play, ruling on the field stands. Touchdown.
And with an extra point to come, headed for a 3-point game with 12:09 left, third quarter. That was exactly what the Eagles needed.
They're down 10 points. They get the return by Huff that sets up great field position, and Mark Sanchez delivers there to Ertz. You're right. They needed something positive to happen offensively and get back in this game, make it a one-score game, and they did exactly that.
When we talked with Mark Sanchez yesterday as we watched the touchdown again, the 35-yarder to Ertz, the Eagles had only 73 yards of offense before that all game. This makes it a 3-point game. Mark Sanchez talked about his relationship with Pete Carroll, who he played for at USC, made only 16 collegiate starts. Pete Carroll was obviously disappointed that Sanchez was going to come out, not go back to USC. Mark Sanchez said he got a whiteboard and with his dad went over the pros and cons of coming back or going pro. But these two like each other a lot. There's a lot of respect both ways, and a good friendship there is not only Pete Carroll, but the backup, Matt Barkley, to Mark Sanchez. A lot of USC flowing through this game.
Yeah, he talked about that period back at SC when he decided to come out, and they had the press conference, and really what came out of that press conference was it looked like Pete Carroll was visibly upset about the fact that Sanchez had declared himself for the draft, and it wasn't what Pete Carroll wanted to have happen. And Mark said that he called him up later that day and said, hey, I don't like the way that it looked. I support you. I don't agree with the decision, but I'm your fan and I'm going to pull for you. And he still has maintained a relationship with him, has sent him a little text even after he took over here in Philadelphia and had some success, and said he was proud of him and happy for him. So it's a pretty unique deal that they had there at USC between Pete Carroll and a lot of winning with Mark Sanchez and a lot of other quarterbacks.
And there's a relationship between Pete Carroll and the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, Chip Kelly. Chip visited Pete in Seattle in November of 2010. Those two coached against each other collegiately. They're facing each other today for the first time since Oregon upset USC in October of 2009. Here's Richardson on the return, swallowed up at the 10 by Prozinski. He's been a nice add to this roster. Connor Barwin, the linebacker, the Eagles, talks about what Philly has to do against Russell Wilson.
The way we'll attack Russell Wilson this week is that at times we'll rush him like a normal quarterback. At times I will be a real spy where I'll sit at the line, and wherever he goes I'll have him. We want to keep him in front of us. We don't ever want the rush to get behind him, because that's when he's so dangerous, when he gets outside of the pocket and has not only throwing lanes but running lanes.
And a look at a play from earlier as Barwin has been that spy for the most part on number 3, Russell Wilson.
Well, and this Eagles special teams, again in this game, has had an impact. They set up the touchdown drive on the last possession offensively, and then they pin Seattle inside the 10-yard line to start this one.
Starting at the 9, Wilson keeps it, fooled everybody. And Russell Wilson's going to be dragged down at the 21 by Nate Allen, a gain of 12.
We saw earlier in the game, Trent Cole get overly aggressive trying to pursue the backside running plays, and you lose your assignments then on who's got contain on the quarterback, and nobody was there. And even Nate Allen making a play out in the open field on Russell Wilson, not an easy task.
Wilson's carried it 6 times, 55 yards and a touchdown. From the 21, Wilson going to air it out downfield. Baldwin, and a battle for the ball. The flag is thrown, and we'll see who it's against. This could go either way. Bradley Fletcher was there for Philadelphia.
Well, Fletcher, as you see, he's going down the field. He was in great position, but he never gets turned for the ball. And so as Baldwin tries to come back for the ball that's thrown to the inside.
Pass interference.
Pass interference.
Defense number 24. 5 foul. Automatic first down.
I mean, he didn't get his head around early. He eventually got it around. There's contact without playing the ball. That's the way they word it. It's a 44-yard penalty and a big one against Bradley Fletcher.
How about that now? Seattle starts this drive inside the 10-yard line. First down, they run the ball with Russell Wilson. Second down, pass interference. And here they are on the 35-yard line going in.
Wilson is going to flip it to Lynch, who is wrapped up in a good play by Kendricks. A gain of 1.
Pretty nifty move there by Russell Wilson, just getting it out of his hands to Lynch to avoid taking the loss.
New this season, stream live local Sunday afternoon games right on your smartphone with NFL Mobile. 2nd and 9.
They widen these receivers out. They like to run that read option play. We saw it earlier in the first half. The same look.
Here it is with Lynch getting it. Makes a cut upfield. Bangs through one tackler and forced out of bounds with a gain of 7. Went right through Benny Logan. And Benny Logan gets up with something to say to Marshawn Lynch after Benny could not bring him down.
You touched on it earlier as far as, what's the succession plan once Marshawn Lynch is no longer around. Speculation that he may not be here next year. Heck, he's said that maybe he might retire. He started saying that last year, the week of the Super Bowl. He takes a pounding, there's no doubt. Guy's as physical a runner as there is in all of football.
3rd down and 2. Wilson gets the fullback and a first down catch for Tukuafu. And for Will Tukuafu, he's not handled the ball all season since being picked up. He's got a first down, a gain of 4.
Yeah, nobody's expecting them to throw him the ball. They don't account for him, and why would they? As you said, he hadn't touched it all season long, and he comes off looking like he's going to be the lead blocker. Guy's a heck of an athlete.
Former defensive lineman and fullback in San Francisco. That's now 8 different receivers hit by Russell Wilson. On first down, Wilson, end zone, pass caught, touchdown Doug Baldwin. And they answer from Seattle. Baldwin's made a couple of big catches in this game, now has a 23-yard touchdown.
Well, no safety help in the middle of the field, as you're going to see. So it's one-on-one across the board. You got to protect the inside. So that's what they do. Doug Baldwin sticks Malcolm Jenkins as though he's going to the post. He's going to try to keep him from getting to the middle of the field. But that then is what opens up the lane for the seam route to Baldwin. It's a great route, a great way to finish the ball with Russell Wilson for the touchdown.
So it started with that Wilson run and the 44-yard pass interference call against Bradley Fletcher as he was working against Doug Baldwin. That set him up. Seattle takes it in. And again, the lead is 10. Aerial coverage provided by Nationwide in what is now a 10-point game again. Big answer by the Seattle offense in the touchdown throw to Doug Baldwin. 23-yard catch. And for Baldwin, just his 3rd touchdown reception of the season. See that bottom line, the 44-yard pass interference call against Bradley Fletcher. A big factor in that drive. It started at the 9. There's still 9 minutes left in the 3rd quarter.
A lot of football left, Joe.
A lot of football there. Hickman. Hauschka hits it. Puff waiting for it. He'll bring it out. And not good this time. Can't get to the 20. It's the Franklin Templeton Shootout live from Florida. Huh? You know who those guys are? I even know who they are. Keegan Bradley on the left, big Patriots fan. You know Matt on the right. Saturday, 1 Eastern on Fox. Greg Norman will make his Fox debut, and we can't wait. That's coming up this Saturday, live from the Naples, Florida area, Franklin Templeton Shootout.
That'll be fun. Are you looking forward to it?
Can't wait. Yes,
yeah.
It'll be great.
And speaking of golf, we had Rory McIlroy up here to the booth beforehand. Good to see him.
Yeah. Quite a list of celebrities here at the game today. Here's a throw to Macklin, a desperation heave, and a first down to Jeremy Macklin of 12 yards. Good throw by Sanchez, who gets up, stretching out that right arm.
Well, he didn't have much time there, and how he was even able to get it out of his arms and make the throw was pretty impressive. He had Kevin Williams barreling right down on him.
Good for 12 yards. Now the handoff to McCoy. Tackle made by Michael Bennett, a gain of 2. Yeah, Rory McIlroy is here. Justin Verlander is at this game. Big Eagles fan is Mike Trout, Jersey kid. He is here at the game today. But the headliner, Carrot Top, here in Philadelphia at Lincoln Financial Field. McCoy is going to carry it forward and pick up 5 from Carrot Top to Joel Klatt. Joel.
How about that transition? How about to Oakland? San Francisco trying to keep pace in the NFC West, and they are behind their Bay rival, the Oakland Raiders, 17-13. Joe, what's going on?
What? That's impossible. They just lost 52-0. They're beating San Francisco, now 3rd down. Sanchez with all day. This one gets away. No flag as Macklin turns around. Might have been held by Sherman. And it's 4th down as that pass just took off.
Well, Mark Sanchez had an opportunity to Zach Ertz. There was some discussion in the secondary right before the snap. They give Ertz a pretty good look there on the corner, and Sanchez had time in the pocket. You're not going to get more open than that, but he just never really saw Ertz to give him a chance. You see Chip Kelly pleading his case in what he thought should have been a penalty.
He was upset with Sherman playing Macklin. No call. Now the punt by Jones is fair caught by Doug Baldwin. And the Seahawks get it back. And the crowd is on this crew with 7:12 left. In quarter number 3, NFL athletes grew up playing in communities all across America. Now through NFL Play 60, they're encouraging kids in neighborhoods everywhere to come out and play for 60 minutes a day. Visit NFLrush.com/play60 to learn more. And we have seen this throughout. Chip Kelly talking to this officiating crew, and he was upset that Sherman was not flagged for contact or maybe a grab on Macklin on that 3rd down throw.
I thought it was interesting when we visited with him yesterday, Joe, and talking about the officials or the penalties, and he said, you know, I don't really get too caught up in it. You know, I mean, it's going to balance out. You know, you're going to have calls that go for you or against you. They do a good job. But he's been working these guys over pretty good all day.
Starting at the 16, Lynch. Brandon Graham in on the stop. Fletcher Cox again, a gain of 4.
Well, you talked about it a moment ago, Joe, as far as how much time is still left in this game. But as tough as it has been to move the football for the Philadelphia Eagles consistently in this game, these possessions then when you're already down 10 points become huge defensively to be able to make stops and keep your offense in it.
Marshawn Lynch again over 1,000 yards. Mark him down for that every season. He is officially over that threshold with his work here in this game. Quick throw, pass caught. Good throw by Wilson, a first down as he gets it into the arms of Norwood, a gain of 10. When you watch Russell Wilson practice, compared to in a game. I don't know that the arm strength stands out when you watch him during a game, but in practice, we see these guys throwing it around all across the NFL. His arm is as strong as anybody's.
Yeah, really good arm. He showed it off on the previous possession with the pass interference and being able to drive it down the field. So I think because he's small in stature, you tend to then think that he doesn't have a big arm, and he really does.
On first down, here's Lynch. Fletcher Cox again on his back immediately. Fletcher Cox, number 91, is doing all he can for his Eagles no gain.
Yeah, Fletcher Cox said that it's the first time that he's really gotten comfortable within this scheme, and that's been the biggest difference. He was a 4-3 defensive lineman in college. He was his rookie year here in Philadelphia, and then when Bill Davis came in as coordinator, he went to the 3-4. Last year was a learning experience for everybody, but Fletcher Cox has come into his own this season, and he has been really good.
Credited with 8 tackles in this game. 2nd and 10. Dumped off to Lynch. Good play out on the edge, and there's Connor Barwin.
Yeah, so now you're looking at 3rd and long, and the first half, this was a down and a distance that Philadelphia just was unable to get a stop really and get off the field. We'll see what Darrell Bevell calls this time for Seattle and whether or not they're able to keep this drive alive.
Wilson gets hit. Pass is incomplete. Good coverage intended for Kearse. And the Seahawks, who have converted a 3rd and 15 twice, a 3rd and 13, cannot convert on 3rd and 9.
Well, Russell Wilson is able to get this ball out, but he knows he's got to rush it just a little bit more than he really wanted to because Barwin was coming in on him quickly. They were man across the board. It's an excellent job by Philadelphia getting off the field.
Ryan just got it away. This Eagles team has blocked 3 punts this year. Now it's on the ground, and Sproles is able to get back on top of it. So Philly gets it right back. Good work by the defense to force a 3 and out. Sproles right on it. Eagles have it down 10. LaShawn McCoy now has the exact number he needed coming in. 48 yards to become the career rushing leader for this Philadelphia Eagles franchise, passing the previous record holder, Wilbert Montgomery, which was set in 1984. Van Buren to Montgomery. Think of a guy like Westbrook. It's LaShawn McCoy on top of them all. Eagles have it down by 10. Sanchez to the sideline from Matthews, incomplete. Good coverage by Maxwell.
Well, something's going to have to give here for this Philadelphia offense. You know, the Seattle defense has just been outstanding throughout this game. The one touchdown really that Philadelphia was able to generate, they got the one, of course, off the turnover there on the punt. But they get the big play in the passing game to Zach Ertz, and Philadelphia has really been built offensively on big plays, but Seattle's been awfully good all year of shutting them down. It's the only one Philadelphia's been able to get in this game.
Here's one to Ertz. He is out to the 38. A gain of 5. And Sanchez was under pressure again.
Yeah, they've been able to get pressure on Sanchez, and they do at the end of this play, but now we're looking at another 3rd down for Philadelphia, and a down that they have not been very good on.
It was O'Brien Schofield with pressure. Philadelphia 1 for 7 on 3rd down, and that will continue. Now 1 for 8. Coverage by Byron Maxwell as he got a hand in there. Pass intended for Matthews.
Well, Byron Maxwell is in coverage, and there's a left hand that comes in right at the end, but you rarely see that called right there. And when you just take off running and try to create separation against Seattle, it's hard to do. And even had he have been able to catch the ball, they wouldn't have picked up the first down.
They just threw a flag to figure somebody said something.
Unsportsmanlike conduct. Offense number 71. 15-yard penalty. Still fourth down.
They get Jason Peters. See what happened. There's Peters, who said something on his way off the field, and that drew the flag.
Well, that's a huge penalty when you're talking about a game like this. It's been a defensive struggle. Every yard is important. 15 yards now, backing the Eagles up. Seattle should get outstanding field position after this punt.
By the time Donnie Jones hits it, he'll be just across his own 10. With Baldwin waiting for it. Good punt. Good coverage. Carroll could not have timed it any better. And there's a flag at midfield. It's not on the hit at the end, as Nolan Carroll delivered the hit on Baldwin, but at midfield they threw a flag, and Baldwin just lucky to hang on.
During the kick, holding, receiving team number 27. 10-yard penalty from the end of the kick. Seattle keeps the ball. First down.
They get Simon for a hold, and now that'll move Seattle back.
How about that? Nolan Carroll makes a great play. He has to get past.
He had to get past Sherman. Here's the penalty.
There's the penalty on Thurl Simon.
And Simon upset, and Sherman is going to make sure that Thurl Simon does not draw a flag for saying the wrong thing on his side.
But Nolan Carroll being able to run by Richard Sherman and time that, like you said, the way that he was able to, and Doug Baldwin unable to go anywhere after he makes the catch. Lucky just to hang on to the ball and then tack on the penalty yards. Eagles fortunate to be able to start defensively where the ball is.
At the 22. Here's Wilson again, keeping it. He is knocked down, and the play made by Trent Cole.
Well, they've gotten Trent Cole a couple times in this game, but not this time. He's able to slow play it, doesn't pursue on the backside, and is there then to make a play. As you see, bottom of the screen, he hangs in there close enough to account for any cutback in case Lynch got the ball, but then he was able to come back out and make the play when Wilson kept it.
Second and 10. Wilson fires it. Pass caught. What a catch. Jermaine Kearse. Beautiful diving, sprawling catch for 20.
Well, that's really good. Jermaine Kearse, good route, and then lays out and able to make this catch. You know, we've talked about it in this game. A lot of people have throughout the season about the passing game and whether or not they can make plays, enough plays to win when they have to. And haven't had a whole lot on the ground being able to run the ball with Marshawn Lynch, but they've been able to make a few plays now. That was a big play there.
8 plays, 20 or more yards against the defense. Here's another. Ricardo Lockett. Lockett is down inside the 40, and they're going to give him 19 with where they're spotting it. So don't add that to the list, but another big play.
Oh, good release by Ricardo Lockett, and completely freezes Kerry Williams. Pretty incredible right there, just getting open the way that he was able to, and that all started with his ability to get off the line of scrimmage.
The ball control is dominated by Seattle. They lead by 10. Lynch carries, and he's brought down immediately by Vinnie Curry. A loss of 2. Second down and 12, under a minute and a half to go, third quarter. Even if Philadelphia doesn't win this game, they're in a great spot in the NFC East as they host the Dallas Cowboys next Sunday night. And if they win that game, then they win the head-to-head sweeping that series. Big one coming next week. 2nd and 12. Wilson keeps it, drops it off. Nice play. Luke Wilson brought down by Malcolm Jenkins, a gain of only 1.
Really good by Malcolm Jenkins, a guy who they brought in this year. He's made a lot of plays for this defense. He's had some interceptions that have helped them win some games, and comes up on Luke Wilson there. Makes a good tackle in the open field.
Right now the Seahawks are not in field goal range. Be a 58-yard try on a windy day here in Philly. Eagles looking for the big stop. Wilson gonna air it out downfield, and it's broken up. Richardson the intended target. Good work by Fletcher. And the punt team comes on for the Seahawks.
Well, this time Fletcher is in a great position, and he actually is able to get turned then and locate the ball. I'll tell you, Richardson, Fletcher had an opportunity to come down with that one, but we'll see what happens now with Seattle forced to punt. What kind of field position the Eagles will get off of it.
Should be the final play of the 3rd quarter. Ryan hits it, and it will shoot into the end zone. And so at the beginning of the 4th quarter, it will be Philadelphia starting at the 20, down by 10. It's week 14, heating up in the NFL. It's America's Game of the Week. Back after this from your local Fox station. 1 quarter to go. Philadelphia with a football, down by 10. And it's on Mark Sanchez to try and get something going as he and the offense get out onto the field to take on this Seahawk defense.
You know, normally when you see the discrepancy, 32 minutes to 12 minutes in time of possession, with the Eagles obviously on the short end of that, you wouldn't really think a whole lot of it, you know, because they can score so quickly. But it has been indicative of how good Seattle's been defensively.
Sanchez is sacked. And it is Bennett. Michael Bennett brings him down, and that for him is sack number 6.
He lines up right over Andrew Gardner, the right guard, and it's just a mismatch. Michael Bennett, he can create a matchup problem no matter where he lines up. He's got great quickness, great length, and he's right in the middle of that defense, and there's just no chance for Mark Sanchez.
Second down and 15. Handoff is to McCoy, and he slips. Now 3rd and long coming up for this Eagles offense that has not been able to get much going all day. A gain of just 1. It's 3rd and 14.
Yeah, and the biggest reason why they haven't had the ball much is because they've been unable to convert on 3rd downs. It's difficult anyway against this defense. 3rd and 14. That's really tough.
1 for 8 on 3rd down are the Eagles. Sanchez buys time, has a guy, passes through the hands of Zach Ertz. He had the first down, did not secure the catch. It's 4th down.
Yeah, let's see. It looked like he may have had an opportunity on that one. It's a high. He's got to go up and make a play on it, but you know, one that he definitely could have caught. And Mark Sanchez does an excellent job of being able to slide out, buy some time, and just right through the hands then of Ertz. When what would have been a first down, Joe.
2nd straight 3 and out, 4th overall for the Eagles offensively, and they are just climbing over the halfway point as far as plays in this game and where they are for their season average. 73 plays a game, they're still under 40. Just have not been able to sustain drives. As this one is tapped down at the 36, a 48-yard punt. Seahawks back on offense, leading by 10.
Is sponsored by Lowe's. Lowe's, never stop improving.
Full moon here in Philadelphia and a 10-point game. And look at this statistically what the defense has done. Philadelphia, because they run plays so fast, they average an NFL best 73 plays of offense per game. They have only 38. And a big reason why unable to convert on 3rd down. Now 1 for 9. So no sustained drives. This defense has really played well for Seattle. Here's Wilson. Spinning out of trouble, finding a man. That's Curse. And he lowers his shoulder and gets a first down. Went right into Kerry Williams, a gain of 11. They get just enough, Troy, from their receivers. You have Marshawn Lynch, and then you have this guy, and Russell Wilson in the middle, that just seems to make plays happen. If they need him to run it, they do. If they need him to start to run, pull up, and find somebody, he's just brilliant at that.
Yeah, he's doing an outstanding job, and he has for several years now. And the Eagles came with a three-man rush and just unable to apply any pressure. It taxes these defensive backs trying to hold up. But Russell, like you said, he's able to find the open guy.
Here's Curse. Another first down. So he's thrown for 250 plus. He's run for 55 and a long touchdown. Talking about Russell Wilson, and he's got his team in a position for a big road win here in Philadelphia.
He's a perfect quarterback for the way that Pete Carroll likes to play. You know, as we know, they're going to play great defense, and then offensively make the plays when they're there. Don't turn the ball over. And Russell Wilson, you don't see him force many throws into coverage. But this defense right now is starting to get taxed a little bit. They just have not gotten enough help from the offense. And Seattle's starting to impose their will on them.
Here's Lynch. On first down, picking up 5. Trent Cole on the stop. Seattle, led by Pete Carroll, who is the second oldest head coach in the NFL at 63. You wouldn't know that by watching him on the sideline. Always active, pounded on that chewing gum. In his 5th year in Seattle, he's been in the playoffs 3 of the first 4 years, won it all last year, and he's got his team peaking at the right time here in 2014.
It really is hard to believe that he's the second oldest head coach, because he has a great deal of energy and youthfulness about him, and the players, they love being a part of it.
Oldest Tom Coughlin in New York with the Giants. Here's Lynch. Lynch is fighting toward the first down. Going to be marked, it looks like, just short, and he is. Fletcher Cox on the tackle. 3rd down coming up. Under 12 to go in this game. An extra offensive lineman, Gary Gilliam, a rookie from Penn State, comes in on 3rd and less than 1. Stood up right at the marker, and it looks like they're going to mark him far enough for a first down, and they are. 2 old friends going at it. Chip and Pete here today, the head coaches. Aaron Andrews gives us more.
Yeah, it kind of feels like what was then a Pac-10 reunion today with former USC head coach Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly. You know, the last time these two met was back in 2009, Halloween night, guys. Final score of this game, 47-20. 47 points was the most the Trojans had allowed at that time since 1996. It was one of Pete Carroll's worst losses as a head coach at USC. Chip Kelly's Oregon Ducks went on to win the Pac-10 championship. He was named the conference coach of the year, and it was kind of then that Chip made his announcement to all of college football of just how fantastic he was and how fun this offense would be to watch.
Yeah, I mean, the rise of Chip Kelly is just stunning. I mean, Pete Carroll, what he did at USC and the sustained excellence with the Trojans, national titles in 03 and 04, BCS championship in 05, but it's a longer record. The guy on the right, Chip Kelly, was a quarterback and defensive back at the University of New Hampshire in the early 80s. He was the offensive coordinator, Troy, at New Hampshire as recently as 2006. Then he goes to Oregon. He has all the success there. Goes 46-7 in 4 years with the Ducks. 2009 through 2012. Went to a BCS Bowl every year. And now here he is winning in the NFL and making things look easy and revolutionizing how teams practice.
Yeah, he really has, and he's changed the game at this level, even when he was still the head coach at Oregon. And what he does is sound, and he's going to be a head coach at this level for as long as he wants to be. He's outstanding.
Wilson keeps it. Hall makes a play. A loss of 5.
That's a big play right there by the Eagles. Trent Cole, he starts down, but he, again, plays it the right way. He's able to come out then and then bring Russell Wilson to the ground. So a loss of yardage. Right now, the Eagles are just hoping to not give up anything more than 3 points, but with that loss, that backs them up a little bit, even with field goal.
Yeah. Well, right now they are at the 36.5. They're on the very edge of field goal range. Need more yardage. Do the Seahawks as they just get it away. 2nd and 15. Pass too high. 3rd down and 15 as Baldwin went up to try and grab it. Couldn't get to it. Big 3rd down coming up for this Philly defense.
Yeah, real big 3rd down. Too many times for Philadelphia. They've given up first downs when they've gotten the Seahawks to 3rd and 15. We've seen them convert this down in distance at least a couple times in this game.
Seahawks have converted 2 3rd and 15s in this game. It's Lynch needing to make some moves. Long way to go. Lost it. Ball is out. Marshawn Lynch lost the football, and it's anybody's guess as to who's got it at the bottom of that pile.
You see all these players. Vinny Curry, he's trying to get in there and yank guys off the pile, and they're saying it's Eagles football.
Philadelphia takes over. Barwin stood him up, and it looks like Kendricks is the one that knocked it out. A fumble from Lynch, and there's life in Philadelphia. Marshawn Lynch entered today with over 500 touches this season without a lost fumble until right here, and it's Kendricks, who's been all over the place, who delivered the hit to force the fumble and give life to the Philadelphia Eagles, who now need to figure out somehow, some way to get on a roll offensively.
That's the big thing. The defense did their part. They get the takeaway. Now it's just a matter of whether the Eagles can sustain a drive.
Here's Sanchez stepping up down the middle. Picked off. Intercepted. It's Harold Simon back the other way. And he gets tackled by his teammate K.J. Wright. But now each side has turned it over twice. And it's Simon with a pick, his first.
Well, he's trying to get the ball to Riley Cooper, but, you know, obviously he throws it behind him. I don't know that he had much of a shot anyway. Earl Thomas is working back to the middle of the field. He's probably going to be able to make a play if you were even able to get the ball to Cooper. And Marshawn Lynch, pretty happy about that one, knowing that he gave up possibly 3 points when he turned the ball over. But you see what Mark Sanchez sees, and he's trying to get it out in front, maybe create a big play to Cooper, but it gets behind him, and Simon's there to make the interception.
Yeah, we talked earlier about how they're saying down on the field the wind is blowing from our left to our right. That ball was clearly held up as Sanchez tried to make that throw into the wind, and Simon was there waiting for it to get his first pick.
Well, the Eagles just unable to get the big plays, you know, whether it comes in the running game or comes in the passing game. This is an offense that has grown accustomed to getting a lot of big plays. They're one of the best in all of football at getting them, but they've just had the one play over 20 yards here today, and that was the touchdown throw to Zach Ertz. But beyond that, Seattle has been tough and stingy, as they have been here for pretty much the entire year.
It's a turnover, so they review the previous play. We'll take a break and get the call when we come back.
Today's game is sponsored by the new Samsung Galaxy Note 4. The next big thing is here.
We'll get the call from Bill Vinovich. Clearly an interception. The question is, was Simon grazed there by the left arm of Riley Cooper? I think the answer is yes. They're moving the ball back, but the interception will stand.
After reviewing the play, the interceptor was contacted at the 30-yard line. Please reset the game clock to 9 minutes and a Philadelphia hash.
So it's basically a difference of 11 yards of field position on the review. Let's take a look at the battle for the NFC West. Again, Seattle has it all in front of them. If they win out, they win the NFC West again. They're at home against San Francisco next week. We'll be there for that. At Arizona, and then at home against St. Louis. Look at Arizona. They got the win today, but their last 3 are tough. At St. Louis, that's on Thursday, and then they take on the other 2 in their own division. Here's Lynch, fresh off the fumble, and he looks a bit determined as Marshawn Lynch carries the pile for 8. Tonight on Fox Sports Live, don't miss a special feature as Tiger Woods meets a 3-year-old and the most unlikely of golfers. Now, he's not only inspiring Tiger, but redefining what it means to be disabled. Fox Sports Live tonight at 11 Eastern on Fox Sports 1 and streaming live on Fox Sports Go.
You don't think Marshawn Lynch is a little upset about that fumble? He just carried 4 guys for 4 extra yards.
Bringing up 2nd down and 2. Like Luke Wilson, the tight end, flinched.
Ball start. Offense number 61. 5-yard penalty. Still 2nd down.
So they get the center. Like Luke Wilson moved as well. And now the NFC East. You know they're watching this game in Dallas. They'll be here in Philadelphia next Sunday night. And then Dallas has a home date against the Colts, who got a big win today. Cleveland at Washington. They were shut out by the Rams, while the Eagles, after that date with the Cowboys, they are at Washington and finish up at the Giants. Eagles still in a pretty good position in their division. Here's an incompletion to Curse. 3rd down and 7.
Well, looking ahead, Joe, that game next Sunday night between the Eagles and Cowboys, that's going to be an NFC East showdown. You know, that's about as good as it gets, and what's at stake. You know, if the Eagles were able to mount something in this game and come out with a victory, then next week's game against the Cowboys for them would be to win the division. If they lose this game, then they're back in a tie with the Cowboys, and the division is up for grabs with a huge confrontation in that game with the Eagles having won the first matchup.
They did that on Thanksgiving 10 days ago. Here's a near pick that might have changed the entire game. Malcolm Jenkins was looking at the end zone and could not make the catch.
That's the play that we've seen him make earlier in the year to secure a victory, and he has an opportunity. He sees it the entire way. He drives on it, just unable to make the catch and the interception. You're right, Joe. If he's able to make this play, he likely scores.
I mean, there was nobody in front of him, and a 10-point game would have become a 3-point game in a blink. Here's one out of bounds off the foot of Ryan. Week 14 continues later today, and it does so on NBC in their matchup with New England at San Diego, and the matchup on ESPN tomorrow night with the Falcons at a cold Lambeau Field. On Monday Night Football on ESPN, Jenkins will be going to bed thinking about that and waking up thinking about what could have been a pick 6. Because this offense, they've needed help with only 127 total yards today against Seattle.
Well, we saw Sanchez try to force that ball in the previous possession that got intercepted, and you know he needs to create some big plays. Clearly they're down 2 scores, but he's got to be smart with the football. Any score gets him right back in it.
McCoy stumbling out to his left, gets a yard, that's all. Bruce Irvin on the stop. And at some point, whether you want to or not, you got to open this thing up.
Yeah, you know, LaShawn McCoy just, you know, really unable to. There's not anywhere for him to go. You know, his longest run is just 10 yards. He's averaging under 3 yards a carry. Their only chance is throwing the football, and they're going to have to start making some plays.
Tight formation here on 2nd and 9. Sanchez steps up. Got a lot of room in front of him, and he will roll forward short of a first down.
Yeah, the fans don't like it, and I don't much like it either. And He had a chance had he had been able to stay on his feet and not give himself up to pick up the first down. I don't know if he lost track of where he was or just didn't want to take any kind of hit, but it makes this down even the more important.
3rd down and 2. Quick throw, Cooper, and a conversion on 3rd down. And that for Philadelphia, only the 2nd time they've accomplished that, as Simon is hurt after being involved on that play. And here in Philadelphia, with the fast-paced offense of Chip Kelly, when they see a player go down or get injured or cause a stoppage in play, gamesmanship is always suspected, but something on the hand. They check the left hand of Thorold Simon.
They're pulling on that finger. Looked like he may have dislocated it or something, because he went down immediately after the play and was clutching his hand. But rather than just come off the field, he goes down, as you said, to try to slow the pace down a little bit. Here he was on the tackle on Cooper.
It's his left hand, and he's got to come off the field for at least one play. So they'll wind the clock. 1st down for Philadelphia.
We'll see if Philadelphia now takes a shot at his replacement. They're in the slot.
That's Burley, who takes over. Sanchez is sacked. Brought down by Hill. And Jordan Hill gets sack number 2. A loss of 4.
Well, Jordan Hill, he's able to get the pressure on Sanchez, and he's looking to get the ball out quick and just nowhere to really go with the football. A little indecisive as to whether or not he was going to chuck it and try to run. But a nice job there by Hill of getting to Sanchez.
This is the one time they've been kind of slow getting back. Now held up by the umpire, who spots the ball. Snapping it with 5:42 left, and down goes Sanchez again. This time it's Burley. And Marcus Burley gets his first sack of the season. A loss of 6.
Well, they bring one extra guy, Marcus Burley, the corner who stepped in. He came in on the blitz off the edge, and LaShawn McCoy, whether he was responsible in protection, he went out on a route, or if Sanchez was supposed to account for Burley if he came, either way, he has a free run and gets the sack.
5 minutes left. 3rd down and 20. Underneath it's Macklin, but he is nowhere close. Out across the 27, that's all. And everything has been near the line of scrimmage. Nothing really downfield. A completion of 8 yards. And this offense for Chip Kelly, it's been a lot of that, shrugging of the shoulders. There just hadn't been any room out there.
No, it's really impressive watching this defense. You know, we talked about it earlier, Joe, and coming into this game, that it was a defense that had given up yards, you know, early in the season. But man, here over the last couple months, they've been right back to where they were last year, that led them all the way to the World Championship.
Right now, the Eagles will get the call.
The officials are not in position at the snap. Still 4th down.
So it happens on a punt, as the umpire was not set. We mentioned him earlier, Paul King. But right now, Philadelphia is at 139 total yards. The previous low under Chip Kelly. In his 2nd year now, 200. Which was a 15-7 loss to the Giants.
Heads up. Heads up.
Jones hits it. Ends up hitting out of bounds. And with under 5 minutes to play, the Seahawks will have the football. Decent field position as they lead it here in Philadelphia by 10. America's Game of the Week continues, and the world champion Seattle Seahawks have made a statement here today. They have come in here on the road, shut down Chip Kelly's offense, lead it by 10. Here's Lynch right side. Delivers the blow, and on first down picks up 5. Give you a recap. We just had an audience join us. A fumbled snap, and the long snap by Hunter Ryan led to a short touchdown for the Eagles. Otherwise, this has been a game that's just been dominated by the Seattle Seahawks, and I think mainly defensively with what they've been able to do, just suffocating the Philadelphia Eagles offense.
Yeah, I don't think the Eagles defensively, I mean, they've given up over 400 yards, but I think they held up pretty good. Seattle's had over 70 offensive plays in this game, Joe, but I agree. The Seattle defense, they're completely overwhelming, and that was going to be a key coming in this game, that matchup.
Play game. Offense number 3. 5-yard penalty. Still second down.
And the matchup that we were most excited to watch was this Seattle defense against the explosive offense of Chip Kelly and the Eagles, and Seattle has completely just shut them down. They've given up one play, and that was the touchdown to Ertz. The other touchdown, of course, because of the short field, but it has been impressive watching this group, and hey, they're a confident team as well. They should be, and they're peaking at the right time.
Now second down and 10 after the delay of game, and it's Marshawn Lynch who just keeps fighting and has a first down. His engine just keeps on going. Those legs keep on churning. Picks up 11. And a timeout is taken by Philadelphia. Their first.
And the impressive thing with Marshawn Lynch is, as physical as he is and the pounding that can you imagine what his body feels like on a Monday? How durable he is. The guy just simply doesn't miss games.
4-time Pro Bowler. He's over 1,000 yards for the season. Got a touchdown in this game. And he is the man who this offense really runs through. I know there's Russell Wilson under center, but this team is going to go as far as the running game goes. Talking about Seattle, they'll ride their defense and they'll ride Marshawn Lynch, and when he can't do it time to time, there's Russell Wilson who can come at you from so many different ways for Seattle.
Yeah, they really seem to feed off the energy that Marshawn Lynch provides when he's carrying the football.
Here's Michael left side on first down. Well, when does Nick Foles come back for Philadelphia? That broken collarbone. As Philadelphia takes a timeout. For more on that, down to Aaron Andrews.
Well, it's funny, if you listen to some of the Philadelphia media, they were speculating he could have been back for this game or maybe even the game against Dallas coming up next week. But he did go through a CT scan the Friday after Thanksgiving, and as Chip Kelly discussed with us, the bone is healing, but it's not completely healed. And Chip said, I'm not even going to think about when he's going to come back, or would that be a quarterback controversy, because it's just not worth it right now. We don't know what's going to happen, when that collarbone, if and when it is healed and he can come back. I talked to Nick. He is going through practices. He is out there during pregame warmups. He said the hardest thing for him is he feels absolutely fine. He feels like he could go out there. They just don't want him to get hit, and that bone doesn't obviously take the hit well, Joe.
Well, a guy, Aaron, who had 27 touchdowns, just 2 interceptions last year. Quarterback rating over 119. This year was different. Here's Michael right side. He delivers a blow. He ran right into Nate Allen. This year, Troy, for Foles, 13 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Little different look. And we've seen the good, we've seen the bad with Mark Sanchez, but I don't chalk this one up to Sanchez. I'm more willing to give the credit to the Seattle defense.
Yeah, I don't know that Joe Montana could have had much more success offensively against this defense, but it will be a real interesting decision for Chip Kelly. And I know, as Aaron Andrews said, Chip Kelly said, hey, I'm not even going to address that because I don't know what the situation is going to look like when Nick Foles is ready to come back. Is Mark Sanchez even going to be healthy himself at that time? Obviously, things change rather rapidly in this league, but assuming that Sanchez is healthy when Foles is ready to play and he gets the clearance. which direction does he go? And he's not tipping his hand, that's for sure.
Philadelphia now out of timeouts. Nice little jump cut by Kristen Michael, picks up a yard, and the clock will wind. Meanwhile, I don't understand what's going on with San Francisco. They're going to be coming off a loss at Oakland that just got embarrassed in St. Louis 52-0 a week ago. And San Francisco goes to Seattle next weekend, and they are going to have their biggest test of the season, and things are just unraveling for Jim Harbaugh and the 49ers. That thing looks like it's about done.
Yeah, for a number of weeks now, when you just watch that team, they just look like a defeated team.
There's Michael again on second down. And think about, Troy, think about San Francisco. Jim Harbaugh coming into today, 48-19-1. And in 3 years has taken his team to the NFC Championship game every year.
And maybe looking for a job.
Maybe looking for a job. He won't be looking long. 2-minute warning here in Philadelphia. Seattle on their way to win number 9. It'll be a 3rd down and 6 for Seattle with 2 minutes remaining. Seattle looking ahead to a home date against San Francisco. Philadelphia looking ahead at some point here soon to a home date against the Dallas Cowboys, who are undefeated on the road, 6-0, and coming off a thumping of the Chicago Bears on Thursday night. Here's Michael. He's got a first down. The drive continues. Fox NFL Sunday returns. A doubleheader weekend next weekend. It starts with Fox NFL Sunday kickoff show at 11 a.m. Eastern on Fox Sports 1, followed by Fox NFL Sunday at noon Eastern right here. There are the matchups: Packers and the Bills, Redskins and Giants, Buccaneers and Panthers, Bengals and Browns. Browns with a heartbreaking loss today to Indianapolis. Late, the big game will be the 49ers at the Seahawks. The Seattle will be going for win number 10 on the year. Here is kneel down time for Seattle. So Arizona does win. You tried to pin me. I said they'd have a tough time winning again.
I didn't pin you.
Yeah, you did. So they win today. But they are going to take on both San Francisco and Seattle again. And Pete Carroll, he's got to be really excited about how this team has come back. They started 3-3, and people said, well, they're going to be yet another Super Bowl team that doesn't even go back to the playoffs. They're rolling right now.
They are rolling, but I do agree with you, Joe, with regards to Arizona, that I see Seattle winning this division and Arizona having a tough time. And right now, I think based on what we've seen, I still think Green Bay is the best in the conference. And right now, I'd put Seattle right behind them. This was a heck of a performance, one we were excited about watching, but they dominated this game against the Eagles on the road.
Dominated this game. And in the total yard department, 139, which was a career low for a Chip Kelly-led team, college included. The OT presented by Lowe's is coming up after the break.